Why women move on faster than men do after a breakup. So if you're going through a breakup right now, you're not alone. There's a lot of guys out there who have gone through this process. And you may have noticed the speed at which the girl that you've broken up with typically is going to be a lot quicker for how she moves on than it is for you. And that can be really frustrating. Like if you're a guy and you're like, dude, I'm supposed to be the one who's strong here, you know, and I'm the one who's more upset. I thought love was more important for women. I thought relationships were more important for women. Well, as you'll come to see, relationships are important for men too, but just because they're more important to somebody doesn't mean they're going to have a tougher time moving on from them. So in this video, we're going to talk exactly about why women move on faster. Okay, I've split into 3 categories, right? During the relationship. So what's going on during the relationship that makes her process of moving on easier? The second thing is after the relationship, we're going to talk about the differences between men and women, what their experience is like. I've even drawn a little chart at the bottom, and the keys to success. So what do you have to do in order to be able to move on more effectively if you're going through a breakup right now, or you are afraid that you will be going through a breakup in the future? This is what you got to do. So let's start with the first one. So during the relationship, women do stuff that men typically don't do, and that's think about the relationship a lot. Women really think about a relationship when they're in it. That's why they're always the ones to start a discussion around something or a fight, or they're the first ones to bring up something that you did wrong, okay? Because women are thinking about it a lot more than men are. And that's the biggest reason why over 70% of divorces are initiated by the woman. So she is thinking about it a lot. And as a result, she's thinking about it and she is going to decide whether to exit that relationship or not, or whether this is not serving her, or whether to mentally check out. Believe it or not, women can start the process of mentally checking out in a relationship before the relationship has even ended. You thought you broke up on one day? Well, it turns out months ago or weeks ago, whenever it was, she had already started the process of mentally starting to move on. This doesn't happen with every single time, but a lot of the time, I've noticed that women will start this process much quicker than men will. The other thing is monkey branching too. So let's say she decides at a certain point in time that she does not want to be in that relationship anymore. Then you think that she's just going to be like, oh, I'm not going to do anything about it. No, she starts to check out mentally. And then on top of that, she will also possibly even monkey branch. She's looking for somebody else who she can go for to keep herself safe in the meantime. Women are very, very conscious of who they have, who they can count on as men. That's why women love attention from men, and they even like it from men that they don't have any sort of inclination to meet up with. Okay, they like the attention because attention to them means security. When you are paying attention to somebody, it means that you are caring for them. Women like to be cared for. As the weaker sex, they usually think about this a lot. There's studies that show that women are twice as likely to get really angry about losing a backup as men are, and they're more likely to have a backup. That doesn't happen by accident. That happens because women are much more conscious about who they have that they can count on as men. A lot of guys, and typically I'll bring up my relationship and my the end of my last relationship in this a lot, but basically monkey branching is a common occurrence that happens with women. So don't be surprised if she had a dude or two that she was talking to before the relationship ended. This is not true for everybody. There are some women who don't do this, who really 100% give their relationship their all. But there are a lot of women who do this on the side, or maybe they'll deny it, or maybe do it at least a little bit. So this is stuff that makes, during the relationship, she is doing things a lot of times that you're not doing that make it easier for her to move on. Now, is this wrong what they're doing? Is this morally something that they should be probably disgusted about if they think about it? Some of this stuff, yes. Monkey branching, probably don't want to be doing that. If people find out that you're monkey branching a lot in relationships, you probably, like a secure person wouldn't want you in that relationship. I don't want a woman who's monkey branching constantly. So this is stuff that I think happens less and less as you get older. But with a lot of women, they feel like they have to monkey branch if they're going to move on to a new relationship. Now, begins moving on process before the relationship ends. Yeah, I'd say a lot of women actually start doing that once they see problems in it. If she was the one that ended the relationship, I can guarantee you the relationship ended before she said it ended, right? If you were the one who broke up with her, maybe not. Because if she didn't see it coming, then she's putting all of her eggs in that basket. And then she's definitely thinking about it more than, I'd see this happen more and more often, okay? If you're a guy who thinks about it more than her, you're probably not a guy who's watching this video. Or you're with a woman who doesn't is not nearly as interested in you as you are into her. So let's talk about that. This is why at the beginning of the process, moving on is a bit easier for women. Now, if you were in her position, you're the same wants and needs, you would probably act similarly to her. Okay, you might not do the monkey branching, and you might not, completely disassociate yourself from the relationship while you're in it. But a lot of women don't do those things either too. So let's talk about after the relationship. What happens during the moving on process between men and women? Okay, what are the biggest differences? So let's say the breakup happens. You broke up, she left you, you decided things aren't going well anymore. It does matter who broke up with who. So in this example, I'm going to be mostly assuming they were the one who broke up with you. So after the relationship, typically what men and women tend to do is men and women tend to party a lot, okay? So women will go through the hoe phase, but men will probably start that a bit sooner. When the breakup happens, you typically don't see men totally devastated and crying. Women get sad very quickly, and they get sad much more rapidly during that process than men do. So the depression part, which a lot of guys go through during that, it hits them much quicker than it does for men. They start hanging out with their friends. They have a good support network. They have the ability to process the emotions better, because if you notice how a woman's life works, they're very emotional creatures. They talk about the emotion a lot. They're dealing with a lot of emotions, especially with every month, they're getting their hormones all out of balance and everything. So they're very equipped to deal when their emotions are kind of out of whack, and men are less so able to deal with that. It starts to sink in. There's a lack of support network for men. They have a difficulty getting back in the game. So if you've been with somebody for years, your game probably sucks. You're probably not confident talking to women. You're probably not confident approaching women. Let's be real. The beginning of the dating process, if you and your girlfriend attempt to get a date, who do you think is going to get a date faster? Any guesses? It's going to be her every time. Okay, she's going to get a date way faster than you are. So her logging on dating apps, her making herself available at singles bars, that is going to have a lot more of a quick benefit for her than it is for you. Trust me, even if you're with someone who you don't think is that attractive, she will be getting more attention from men than you will be getting from women immediately after the breakup. They have a difficulty getting back in the game. Depression, negativity spiral, okay? So this is where stuff starts to get really hard, right? So without a support network, most guys don't have a lot of friends. They don't have a lot of friends that they can call. I mean, if you're watching this video right now and you have 5 friends that you can call after a breakup, and they will sit there and they will listen to you and they will comfort you and they will say, hey, dude, yo, let's plan something. Let's fucking make something happen. Let's get you out of this funk. I got your back. You have 5 friends that you can call. That's good. Women typically have even more. 5 friends is good. Most guys don't even have that. Getting a support network is really going to help, and that's something that we talk about here. After the relationship, I find that men, their trajectory kind of looks like this. So this is how it is at the beginning. This is assuming she broke up with you. So at the beginning, she's starting down here. Why is she starting down here? She's starting down here because she knows the relationship is not in a good place. And she's been sad about it for a bit. Guy, whether he's sad or not sad, I don't know. He's usually going to start at a higher place. Okay, so he starts here. The breakup happens. Boom, he goes down immediately. But then he starts thinking, oh, damn, look at all the girls that I can hang out with. Look at all the things that I can do. It hasn't really sunk in and hit him yet. Now, maybe if he tries to message her and she goes completely dark on him, then that's when the panic can start to set in and it can go lower. But I find that when a woman breaks up with a guy, it's not a fun thing to do. She does not enjoy breaking up with you. No woman enjoys it unless they're a sociopath. So she's going to go way down. She's down here and she's hanging out down there. But look at this guy. He's hanging out up here. He's probably partying. He's probably doing stuff. But maybe they're still talking. Maybe he still thinks there's hope. But then once the hope dies, where the guy feels like, I cannot get her back. If I wanted her back, she would not come back with me. He starts to really go down. And that's where he starts to hit rock bottom, is after that point. Once he feels like, I messed up, I did this wrong, they start blaming themselves a lot of times. It's actually good to blame the person who broke up with you. A lot, like you'll see people, they'll make themselves angry at the person who broke up with them. And that's actually an effective strategy to get to the next stage. It's not, if you stay there, like that's not an effective strategy. That's also not good for your mental health or just meeting people in general. Who wants someone that's still mad at their ex, right? But if you get over that, it is actually an effective process to move on. So the hope dies here, boom, it goes down. And now you see it's starting to be lower and she's starting to come back up. She's already started to mourn the relationship before you. She was already not in a great spot beforehand. Then it ended. She got depressed for a little bit. Then she starts talking to her girlfriend. She starts going out. She starts meeting people. She starts hanging out. She starts really settling into herself. And then she starts to feel better and better. Boom, boom, boom. And then there's going to be some up and downs. When you're in an emotional state that's fragile, one minute you're going to feel super good and the next minute you're going to feel like, absolute hell. So this is usually what happens. It's usually pretty shaky. And then they both start to come out of it and then they're both probably going to be, she's already up here. She's been up there for a while. The guy will catch up later. But I do know a lot of men who stay here. You will hear this a lot on the web. You will hear this a lot. You will hear time heals all wounds. They say this very, very frequently. I am not a big believer in this statement. Yes, time helps. And as you can see, we have happiness versus time here. And you typically, a lot of times people would expect it to get better or eventually get back up there. But I know a lot of guys who stay in there for a very long time. If you as a man do not feel that you are progressing or do not feel that you can do better than when you were with that person, you will have a very, very tough time moving on. If you feel like the best time of your life will always be that time that you had with that person, your brain is going to have a very difficult time moving on. So what are the keys to actually being able to move on so you don't end up like this guy? You want to get a good support network. You do not want to sit at home alone for hours. I did that. You don't want to try and sleep with as many women as possible. I slept with a lot of women after my breakup. It did not help me improve in terms of my mental state. It was cool to get laid, but it wasn't great for that. So these are distractions. But one of the things about distractions that's good is if you distract yourself in the right way to make progress, it can help. For instance, being busy at your job. Actually diving into your work isn't a terrible way of getting over somebody. If the work is really demanding, that's mentally challenging, and you feel like you're progressing in it, then absolutely, I would dive head straight into your work. I would work on getting a good support network. I would maintain your hobbies and continue to improve and really dive into all of those things. Keeping yourself busy is great. But what's not great is if you're not making progress. And sleeping with a bunch of women, other than the fact that maybe if you've never done it before, it's not really something that you can make a lot of progress with. Maybe you can get better and better women, which is kind of what I was doing. But if you're not someone who's doing that, most of the time I see guys not really getting over it by doing that. So what you want to do is you want to keep yourself busy and make progress. Okay, that is really the key here. You got to make progress. There's also exercises that you can do to learn how to cope with the bad feelings. Now, if you've never felt like you could get a certain girl like her and you felt like you got lucky and you feel like you're never going to meet another person again, like I said, it is going to be very difficult to get over that person. The only way that you can is by improving yourself, making it so, yeah, sure, I lost a great person, but that doesn't mean I can't get a better one. And chances are, after you go through this process, after you become better yourself, I guarantee you, you won't see her as this magical, amazing person that you've been seeing her for this long. And so this process is exactly what I help guys out with. So I've helped out so many guys who have come through this process, who have had trouble moving on with women. They've seen their girl up and start dating somebody new or get married to somebody new. And they come to me for help and they themselves have not been able to move on. But after the program, once they start achieving that confidence with women, once they start getting options with women that they never thought possible and progressing with them in a way that they've never experienced before, you can bet your ass they're not thinking about that girl anymore. And if you want to see some examples, I can talk about some examples in a bit. But other than that, this is the process. Good luck out there, you guys.